No, we'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
What an opening!
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta get my opening game up. This is
No, your openers are amazing, June. Don't let anybody tell you any different. So the rare Wednesday live on a Thursday afternoon, guys. How are you all doing?
good, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm liking the energy coming from your side right now, June. It is appropriate.
Good.
Very appropriate. So I've heard you've got something going on that hasn't happened in 33 years. How does it feel, June Foster Child, our Detroit Lions representatives for Fans First Sports Network? How do you all feel right now?
Foster, I'll let you go ahead and start it off.
I mean, what are we 3 wake ups away from this? This is like the first time, out of jail after being locked up. Like,
You said three. Did you say 3 wake ups?
3 wake ups.
Oh, wow.
We ready to dress out. We ready to dress out and live this life that everybody else has lived. So
that process out is a long winding road, Foster. Let me tell you.
But, yeah.
We've been writing it on the wall, the tally on the wall for,
Hey, man. Hey, you ain't got to tell me, man. You ain't got to tell me. As a Bear fan, as a Cub fan, I understand. I understand where you're coming from, man. So the Detroit Lions are flying to the Bay, San Francisco, to meet up with the 49ers for the right to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. As I said, it's somewhere that Detroit hasn't been in 30, I believe this is 33 years. Yeah, 33 years. This is the 3rd consecutive year for San Francisco in this game.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and let's start there. Obviously, you guys have led the division wire to wire. It's only right that we start our NFC weekly show with our Detroit Lions representatives. So we already said how you feel. Let's get into this game. As I looked at the books today, everywhere has got Detroit within a touchdown of the NFC San Francisco 49ers. I kind of think it's disrespectful because just going by the injury report and how San Francisco's looked last week against the other NFC team that's not represented here, but we can talk about them in a second. How do you all feel about your chances Sunday?
I think it's going to be a tough game, but we definitely have a chance to win this game and advance to the Super Bowl. But it's going to be tough. This is going to be the toughest opponent other than the Ravens that we faced thus far. So I don't really concern myself with too much of the favorites and the points and all that, because how much was the other team supposed to be not favored, and they had them on the ropes. They had the 49ers on the ropes. So all that goes out the window, and it's 0. Right now we're all 0-0. This all comes down to who's going to come out of it 0-1 and who's going to come out of it 1-0. So you lay it all on the line.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, B Foster. So June, Jared Goff leading the offense right back into California. It's someplace he's very familiar with. Yeah. I think the weather's supposed to be very nice coming for this weekend, for Sunday, for the game.
Okay.
But from what I understand, for what a lot of the pundits have been saying, previewing the game, they don't think the Detroit Lions, they don't think that offense is tailor-made for an outdoors game. How do you feel about that?
I would say Detroit Lions versus Chargers.
Mm.
That was a pretty good offensive output that weekend outside in California. So
Chargers. Oh well, no, you said Kansas City. What you say?
no, I said Chargers.
Oh, I'm tripping. I thought
That
you said-
offensive output that day. You remember, Foster?
Yeah, no, I remember. I don't know why I thought I heard you say Kansas City. True.
If I did, I meant Chargers. I'm sorry, but at the same time, I don't think outside has a temperament on the Detroit Lions offense. I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Good. So let's go ahead and move towards our Minnesota Vikings representative, Dave, from Vikings First and Skol on YouTube and everywhere else you can find your audio podcast. I'm going to ask you, as again, another guy who's interested in the NFC, are you rooting for the Lions? You know, because we kind of do want to see the North in the Super Bowl, right? It's been a while. So how you feel, man? You pulling for, you got your Honolulu Blue going this weekend?
I thought about getting to this question. There's a point where I don't want to see the Detroit Lions win a Super Bowl before the Minnesota Vikings. And they're getting close to that point. So I'm 50-50 on this game. I still want to see if the Niners do win and Baltimore wins, if the whole conspiracy theory of the logos comes to fruition. But I do believe the Detroit Lions have a great chance of pulling it out this weekend and making their first ever Super Bowl.
It's going to be hell to pay with Detroit going to their first ever Super Bowl, and they've got a lot of pent up frustration. I can't imagine any other city that deserves it more. Just to have that, just to have all eyes on them from a sports world perspective. Yeah, I kind of don't disagree. Well, let me say that. I kind of don't agree with a lot of the quote unquote experts on TV saying that the offense won't be able to, do what they're supposed to do against San Francisco. San Francisco's defense hasn't really been that scary for the most part. Their front line, Bosa and Chase, they're good. So the offensive line will have their work cut out for them, obviously. But as far as like the back seven guys, I think the Detroit Lions can put them to work real easily. There aren't five tougher wide receivers in the league than St. Brown. There isn't a tougher run offense to defend than what Detroit poses with Montgomery and Gibbs coming out of the backfield. That type of thunder and lightning you haven't seen since, I don't know, name him. Probably the original thunder and lightning, probably. So I'm giving the Lions more than a fighting chance. I'd like them to actually win this game. I actually like them to control this game for the most part and go ahead and handle business. I don't want to go ahead and say more than a touchdown win. I think it'll be close, but I don't think Detroit will be clawing, cat punt included, that to handle to pull the win out. So let's go ahead and just let's what do we think as far as winning? Like I know you all don't like to predict games, but do you feel your position is good enough to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, we like you said, we have, as far as the weather is concerned, I mean, we have a running attack. We have one of the best tight ends in the game. Like we said, Jared Goff is very familiar with California. He grew up 30 minutes from San Francisco. He's a Joe Montana fan. We're 16 because of Joe Montana. So this is the perfect opportunity for him to once again, defy the odds and win a game that that has a little bit more. It's there's more at stake for him because he is a Cali guy, and he was traded away. And yeah, they gave up 100 yards to Aaron Jones last week. So not to say that that's something that they're gonna make a reoccurring theme, but they kind of have to prove that they can. And that's the one thing that was a major factor in our game, in the Tampa Bay game, is that we got away from the run. But when we got back in the groove of things and started running the ball again, it opened everything back up for them. So as far as their secondary, that's probably their weakness. I think they have a strong front seven. They got Bosa, they got
Chase Young, and they got Warner, who's one of, I think that linebacking core is one of the tougher running linebacking cores, and Greenlaw had 2 interceptions last week by himself. So they're tough up front, but we got one of the best offensive lines too. So I give us a very good chance to win that game. It's going to come down to stopping McCaffrey. That's really what scares me is McCaffrey more than anything. Dave, I've been saying for pretty much back half of the season, to anybody who would listen, that the 49ers, as well as they've played, as well as they've looked, they are vulnerable inside the tackle box against the run. And as B. Foster said, they let Aaron Jones look pretty formidable against them last week. And we've all seen Aaron Jones twice a season for the last handful of seasons. We know what Aaron Jones is. And we know what we saw, like, okay, Aaron Jones is having a career day. This isn't the Aaron Jones we know. So am I crazy if I'm saying, like, hey, I think they got more than a puncher's chance if they put the rock in David Montgomery's hands and let him do what he's supposed to do, and let Gibbs get on the outside after they get tired of banging in the middle, and let him go use that incredible quickness. This can get they can control this game. How do you feel?
Oh, I agree completely. The Lions offense, especially if Goff does not get real generous. This team, and I don't think Goff is going to. I think he's out to prove something, and he's been playing the best ball of his career. I think this team, with that offensive line, with the running game, and I agree with you, that two-headed monster is nasty. I think they could control this game, and I think they will. And we know they're aggressive, right? And I love aggressive football. They will go at them from an offensive side at that defense, and it may be a fun to watch, blow for blow, just a knockout fight, where you got heavyweights just battling it out. But I think Detroit can keep on their feet and keep throwing punches, and very well may come ahead when the day is done. Now, when you flip the script, that makes a different story. I think defense can rattle Purdy. And we're going to find out. If they rattle Purdy, I think Detroit cruises. But that's going to be the challenge. And I agree. I'm worried about McCaffrey, but it's going to be an interesting game. I expect a very close game. The whole San Francisco favored by 7, I think Vegas is whacked on that one.
I'll tell you all my final score. I've been playing around with this in my head. I got Detroit 31-25. That's just the way I see this game floating out. I do think San Francisco back 7 is vulnerable, and I don't want to I got to be fair. I don't want to not point out that Detroit's back 7 is also vulnerable. But if Deebo Samuels doesn't play, and it's up in the air if he does or not, that makes it a lot easier to scheme that team. Their offense is very precise and is very scheduled. If you don't have that unicorn that Deebo is out there, their offense is, all the numbers has already pointed this out. When Deebo's not there, their offense is 2 yards worse per play. Even with CMC, Kittle, and I'm blanking on the other wide receiver's name right now.
Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk. Even with those terrific players, Debo is the one that makes that thing go. So if he's banged up and he's half of what he's supposed to be, or doesn't play at all, it's gonna get your bet slips in. Get it in now. Okay.
You got to remember that Debo was out when we played him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we were hurt too. We were missing, I think JJ was out that game as well. But we beat them because Debo was out. So if Debo's not playing, that's a big advantage, Lions.
Very.
They had their losing streak early in the season when Debo was out. So they're
we started it for them.
Yeah, very vulnerable without Debo.
We talked about that running back for the Green Bay Packers. They were the other NFC North representative in the playoffs. Their season came to a crashing halt last weekend to the San Francisco 49ers. So we want to go ahead and give them our flowers. Let the funeral procession go ahead and start moving, and give our warm thoughts to their season. And I'm gonna start with you, Dave. What's your thoughts?
If we're giving them a funeral, it's going to be a Cajun funeral for me. Get out the brass horns. Let's start dancing, drinking, and start the parade because the Packers are dead. The Green Bay Packers, got to give it to them. They went beyond expectations this season. They took their very professional quarterback, and he turned into something in the second half of the season, which was surprising to all of us. Yeah. Now, what surprised me even more is he channeled his inner Brett Favre there at the end of the game, doing the across-the-body throw for the interception in San Francisco to seal the win. I could guarantee you, myself and a ton of Minnesota fans smiled ear to ear when they saw that. Hey, it's a shame that Green Bay's out and they're picking now 20-something in the draft, and they've got to hope that they get everything back next year. We'll see. But I think they did find their quarterback, much to the chagrin of everybody else in this division. And we're going to have fun with them next season. They join me and you, Pay, in their off-season preparations. But what did you think, Pay, watching the Packers eventually lose last week to the San Francisco 49ers?
I'm tired of them making me wrong. I'm glad their season's finally over. I've been picking against them for so many weeks. And they kept sticking it to me. Pause. So I'm glad their season's over. Just for me. Now, watching the game, I did feel same thing you said there, Dave. It's much to the chagrin. They look a lot better than I want to give them credit for. I want to believe that a lot of that had to do with San Francisco not being as potent as we think that they are. So, and that may be just me, as the Bear fan, not wanting to give the Packers any credit. But Jordan Love did come back to earth. He slammed back to the pavement pretty hard. That game, he had, I think he was barely over 60% completion percentage. He ended the game, like as you called out, with a terrible, terrible interception, ones they teach you in Pop Warner not to do. And if we can get that Jordan Love more consistently, if we can keep him around in the professional ranks, throwing passes like that, a la Brett Favre, but he doesn't have the Brett Favre arm to pull that off, or the horseshoe in his back pocket. If we can get more of that going on for the next few years, I'm with it.
We'll be fine. And for off season, once we get into it completely and start looking at it, they're in sort of hurting status when it comes to cap. They have an effective cap right now of almost minus $7 million in the hole. So they've got some choices to make, which just breaks our heart. I know. But yes, seeing Jordan Love play well that second half of the season, it's disheartening to us, but hey, it'll just make our division better because we're going to have very good quarterbacks in the near future battling against each other, whether it be Goff in Detroit, whether it be Caleb Williams in Chicago, or whether it be Jaden Daniels maybe in Minnesota. It's going to be fun to watch.
That's all I want to see. I want to see some fun football, and the best fun football is when the Packers lose and all our teams are stomping all over them. So, all right. So we talked about the playoffs. So let's take a quick break, and we can get into some of the other news surrounding the NFC North, and by that means, I mean there's us two teams that's in the offseason. Let's see what they've been up to. And for those watching on YouTube, just stick around for a second. Those listening on audio, check out our advertisers. You know, they support us. Go ahead and show them support too. We can appreciate it all together. Be right back. All right, this is your NFC North Roundtable. Who will be king? Championship game edition. Fellas, we have already talked about Detroit versus San Francisco, Detroit versus everybody. I think Detroit, I think everybody in the nation, other than those teams that have rooting interest that's in the championship game, I think everybody else in the nation is pulling for Detroit to handle their business this week. We talked about the Packers, the end of their season, triumphed in hilarious fashion. I think I can say that. It ended the way it needed to end, with a terrible throw in a, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that type of play. So let's get into some other news. The Bears, they started the week off right after the Packers lost. The Bears kicked off the work week early Monday morning, made some news. They hired an offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, from the Seattle Supersonics. It was the first domino that needed to fall this offseason. There was nothing we could do. There's nothing we can do draft-wise or anything personnel-wise until we've figured out who's going to be calling the plays and who's going to be leading the offense. Now, as I've heard from some Seattle Seahawk fans in the comments from our show that we've put on for the reaction of this, they're happy he's gone. They say good luck with him. Okay, all right. That doesn't make me feel any better about the hire. However, dealing with what we dealt with the last 2 years under Luke Getsy, you can only go up. You can only go up. Shane Waldron has, if nothing else, he's experienced. He's coached every position group except for running backs. He's done it at the UFL level. He's done it in college football. And he's done it under Bill Belichick. He's done it under Shanahan. He's done it under McVay. And he's done it under Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll being the Seattle Seahawks, where he was the offensive coordinator the last 3 years. Now, it's fair. I have to mention the offense ranked pretty much mid-pack every year. I think the highest they were ranked was last year when Gino was the first-year starter there. I think they were the 13th rated offense. Let me tell you, give me the Bears at a 13th rated offense right now. Tell me I'm going to be that. I'll push over somebody's grandmother to get that right now. So from that angle, just having an experienced guy calling the plays, calling the shots, and letting everything be known, I'm fine with it. I feel like we've got the tools, we've got the necessary skill position players to make things work. Now, the big question around Chicago is, what does this hire mean for what we do with our first overall draft selection? And I got to give it to Ryan Poles, general manager of the Chicago Bears. He's a sneaky guy. He hired a guy that doesn't lean one way or the other, at least publicly. If you look at his offense, you can make an argument like, hey, that might look good for Justin, or it might look good for Caleb. You never know. Hiring some of the other guys that they interview, Cliff Kingsbury, Greg Roman, yada yada yada. You can definitely make a decision like, okay, we see where the Bears are leaning. If they hire Greg Roman, all right, we know where this is going to end, right? So I kind of like that. There's two reasons why I'm okay with the hire so far. It's a wait and see approach. Let's see what happens. Let's hope the offseason bears more fruit as far as acquisitions for the roster, and we see who else we hire to fill out the rest of that coaching staff, because we had to fire almost everybody because between being indecent or just bad at your job, we got to replace everybody from the coaching level. Is anybody else got an opinion on that?
Hey, I think it's a great thing that you're adding new talent. Now we'll see if it's Eberflus or not next season is the problem. Now, was Eberflus in charge of hiring your new OC? Or was it GM?
That's another good question. To me, look, after we had to fire everybody else that you hired, you should not be allowed to hire anybody else ever again. So they haven't said who was the leading force in these decisions to hire Shane Waldron and who else is going to fill out the staff. It will be interesting to, in the coming weeks to find out who definitely did that. Because if they let Eberflus did it, if they let Eberflus have had any direction in that, I would be a very upset Bears fan.
Well, you want him to at least say, yes, I can get along with the guy.
Well, of course, yeah. And, you can get along with him. I mean, you are his boss, but you hired Luke Getsy. That tells us about your decision making and that process as well. Because Luke Getsy, he had only been in a passing game coordinator. He had never been an offensive coordinator before, never been a quarterback's coach, anything like that. He was just friends with Aaron Rodgers. That's pretty much the bullet point on his resume. And Nathaniel Hackett is another guy that's friends with Aaron Rodgers for what it's worth. We saw how that, you give him a little bit of power. You saw what happened with there. So again, for one thing that I would give Eberflus credit for, we did make strides this past season.
Especially on the defensive side.
Especially on the defensive side. And we made strides with him pretty much doing everything himself. He was the godfather. He was the one pulling the strings for defense. He was the defensive coordinator himself. He's the head coach. He's got to do all the cooking. He's like Clemenza. He's in the kitchen cooking while everybody's, went to the mattress. He's also got to check in with Luke Getsy because, being that the offense was terrible, he had to keep poking his head into those offensive meetings. There's a lot of stuff Eberflus had to do. So again, going back to my previous comment about hiring an experienced offensive coordinator, he can let that go. He can let those responsibilities, let somebody else take that, and he can just focus on being the CEO, focus on being the Don. I like it for that reason alone. Now, if it doesn't work out, then so be it. We can just start all over. It's not something that we're not foreign to in Chicago. Right? Elsewhere in the division, Minnesota, how are you all holding up in this off-season streets?
Oh, so far so good. We are over on Vikings First and Skull. We're going through our Skull Search series where we do player profiles for the draft. We've got another one tonight at 6:00 where we're profiling J.J. McCarthy from Michigan, possible future quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. Who knows how the Vikings are going to go this draft, but it's good to know all the quarterbacks. And we're slowly getting through most of the top quarterbacks. And it's going to be interesting. The only one I don't think we've done so far is Jaden Daniels, my personal favorite. But everybody's talking about quarterbacks, and quarterbacks is leading the discussion. Whether you're a what we like to call Kirkstans or Kirkistanis, you're all for bringing back Kirk Cousins. Or if you want something new blood, let's draft somebody in the first round. That's the predominant discussion so far this week. It's interesting. Kirk Cousins keeps himself in the news. Odds came out today where he's going to end up. Top selection on that happens to be the Raiders, which is all right. There's other teams involved. There's Patriots. There's Steelers. Falcons is one of the top picks. We're going to find out. And the Falcons just got their head coach right before we started to record. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Vikings work out a deal that he's happy with, that we're happy with, so we're not pushing the cap can down the road like the Saints, or if we let him walk. And that's everybody in Vikings land. That's what they're talking about, that. And then after that, everything's secondary, whether it be defensive line or interior offensive line or cornerbacks. It's all secondary to the quarterback question. So we're going to find out. And for the viewers that don't know, Vikings First and Skull, our very own Tyler Fornes, is going to be down in Mobile starting Monday. He flies out this weekend. This will be his 4th or 5th consecutive year down there. He'll be evaluating players and reporting for Vikings First and Skull on the players that are down there. So it's going to be an interesting offseason.
We got to step it up, Foster.
That's for the Senior Bowl, or what's down there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Reese's Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama.
Gotcha.
Practice start Monday, and the game is, I think, next Saturday. And it's sponsored by the NFL. The NFL puts it on every year. It's one of the 2 All-Star games that they put on. And it brings down coaches from each team, evaluators from each team. They're all there, right? 2 of our coaches, Durante Jones, our defensive back coach, and another defensive coach are down there. I think Durante Jones is going to be the defensive coordinator on the national team. The whole idea is, one, for those younger coaches, it gets them groomed for moving up in the coaching field, right? Durante Jones is our defensive back coach. He's going to be doing the DC duties. But 2, it allows teams to get to meet these young prospects. Now, they don't have the very tippy top of the draft. Those guys aren't going to be there because it does no good for them to go there. The only reason you're going to go there is to hopefully raise your stock. But there are some key quarterbacks. Bo Nix is one of them. You're going to get Spencer Rattler. A bunch of other ones are going to be there. JJ McCarthy is not. He's not going to be there. But there's other ones that are going to be there that we can sit there and evaluate and watch. And it's not just Tyler down there on the sidelines doing his thing and then doing interviews afterwards. It's also us as fans. We get to watch all next week, and I think it's the NFL Network and maybe ESPN. They both do broadcasts of all the individual drills. See, this is where gets me. Anybody that knows Dave knows I love the big round bellies. I played offensive and defensive line. I love linemen, right? And to be able to sit there and watch, for me, linemen go at it. I can sit there and go, his technique is great, or his technique stinks. Is he coachable? And all this other stuff. For me, it helps me in the preparation as we build up towards the draft. Now, that's it over on the Viking side. I don't know what the Bears are doing. What are your fans doing? Have you got a draft side, Pay, that you focus on?
Yeah, we're focusing on. We're always waiting on pro days. Nothing going on in the Senior Bowl is, top of mind for the Bears. It's all about that pro day and the interviews that come after that. And for him, the presumptive number 1 overall draft pick, everything starts and ends with that right there. Now, I would hope with that other first round draft pick that we have, that we try to fix some of these holes we have in the offensive line, those round bellies, as you mentioned. because God, Lord knows, we played with duct tape on for them all season, and we actually did pretty good. But 3 out of 5 of that position needs to be on that deep line group needs to be rotated out. At least 2. Like 2 cannot come back next season. I'm not going to say their names, but at least 2 need not to show their face at Hallis Hall when off-season activities begin. That's my hope. So I did. My ears perked up when you said JJ McCarthy would not be there for the Senior Bowl. I gotta ask. I know this is probably a little sidebarish. Like, what are you all's opinion on JJ McCarthy as a pro prospect? And I'm gonna go right to June. You know, you're a Michigan guy. Let's talk about him.
Ultimately, I don't think he's quite ready. I know he has all the tools. I know he has a pretty strong. He has a strong enough arm. He's pretty mobile. I just think he probably could have used another year. He was in a run-heavy offense, and he took some crazy chances. Where if I'm an NFL coach, I'd like to see him a little bit more mature in that area. But other than that, he has some intangibles. There's nothing that he can't be coached or fixed up. But he's a pretty good, like, there's some quarterbacks in this draft I rate before him, though, like a lot. But not a, I want to say.
Nah, you said it.
Well, when you think of quarterbacks in this draft, I think of, I forget his last name, the quarterback out of North Carolina.
Drake
I think of Daniels. I think of Penix.
Nix.
Bo Nix. There's several that I would take before JJ.
And Penix is going to be down there at the Senior Bowl too.
Yeah.
Well, with Harbaugh now getting the head coaching job for the Los Angeles Chargers, I want to challenge John Harbaugh. He doesn't have a pair unless he trades away Herbert and drafts JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, ain't gonna do that. That'd be crazy.
That's not going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen, but I would love for it too.
That's got to be close to insubordination, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Damn near.
Draft the proven guy and just take your guy.
Yeah.
That's close to a fireable offense as I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
But I would go into Cap Hell and kick the can road for Herbert if they want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to.
Shit, I would. We got a lot of quarterback questions in Chicago too. If they wanted to make Herbert available, you know what? Let's just
pay
let's get the proven thing. Let's go ahead.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But it's good for the Chargers that Harbaugh's there because he's going to build up their offense and defensive line, and they're going to become a more power team with a very, very good quarterback behind them. And it's looking up for them because they're, I don't want to say the Detroit Lions of the AFC, but, you know, they've had some good years, but for the most part, they don't make it that far.
That is
they make the play. They were making the playoffs. They just and they're super talented. They're talented on defense. If they can get it together, they can be really tough, I think.
Well, and hopefully they can build up their fan base more than that. Just that one lady we kept seeing on Twitter all the time. And now, especially now that they're in Los Angeles,
it's the Chargers. They're in the wrong market. If they want a fan base, they got to stop trying to bite the coattails of another team.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I would like to say my take on the
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. As from the Spartan perspective, what do you think about JJ McCarthy as a pro prospect?
I'm weary of Michigan quarterbacks. You know, the Kirk Cousins guy, he's pretty good. You know, he went to a pretty good school. But
I mean, he was no, you know, Tom Brady, but okay.
Yeah, he won the national championship in
He is for making money.
1997.
And Kirk didn't win anything.
No.
Nah,
He won.
no.
But he's number one in making money.
Yeah, he's
I mean,
very,
Tom
very
Brady
good.
only won Super Bowls and a national title. So hey, you know.
But overall though, Tom
Okay,
Brady is
cool.
an anomaly, you know. But yeah, but like you said, June, you know, they leaned very heavily on the run. I remember games where they ran the ball 20, like something crazy, like 25 times in a row. So I
Yeah.
mean, to say is he ready to take over a team and at the NFL level, I would venture to say no. But
Yeah, but is that his fault or is that Harbaugh designing a powerful enough running game that
I think part of
running
that
the
has,
ball made it easy?
yeah, running the ball, yeah, it definitely would make it easy. But I do think that there was reasoning behind it, and some of that was trust. Because I mean, I think running the ball 25, it was something crazy. It was 20 plus times that they ran in a row. That's like pretty excessive. I mean, we can't say that they were all good runs, but I'm sure a lot of them were.
Well, here's why they ran the ball. They were successful. It was working. It wasn't like they were going 3 and out running the ball 25 times. They were moving the ball downfield. So
Yeah.
I just think that if you have a decent quarterback in that offense, it's going to be okay because you're running the ball, you're controlling the line of scrimmage, you're only asking your quarterback to make certain plays at certain times, basically do a little bit more than manage the game. And I just don't think JJ's quite ready for the next level. But hey, Brock Purdy was the last pick. He was round 7,
That's
last pick of the
another
draft.
anomaly.
Can't base it on that. Yeah,
I'm not basing it on
great.
anything. My basis is we don't know until you get there.
Well, yeah.
So
True. And those anomalies, whether it be Purdy or whether it be Brady, are about 35 years apart. So that's how often that happens.
I
You
mean,
know, well, I get it on my side all the time. Fans are like, oh, we go with somebody drafted in the 7th round. Look at Purdy. Or what happened to Brady? He was drafted, what, in the 6th?
6th.
Right. And it was like, guys, those are anomalies. That doesn't happen.
Well,
you want a good quarterback, your highest chances of doing that is drafting them in the 1st round. Yes,
I can
there's
name some
failures.
1st round picks that were just horrible at
Yeah, I was
quarterback.
gonna say
Zach Wilson.
He said your best chance. He didn't say it was automatic. He
Well,
said it was your best
well,
chance.
let's
And actually, it's
get
about
this clear. It has nothing to do with the round. It has everything to do with the player, and that's my point.
That's what it ends up being. But if you look at it from a numerical standpoint, out of the last 21 years or so, of 1st round draft choices that may be a little bit higher, 65%, turn out to be a serviceable
At least
quarterback. That includes Justin Fields, serviceable quarterback. We're not talking all-stars, right? The all-star percentage is much lower than that, but it's about 60, 65, 67%, somewhere in there. As soon as you hit the 2nd round, that dives into half of that. And then once you get the 3rd round, it's like half of that. So that percentage goes way down, way fast. Now, yes, you find the right guy, Tom Brady, match him up with the right coach, Bill Belichick, and magic can happen. And we'll find out if San Francisco is making that magic or if Detroit spoils it this Sunday. And that's what it comes down to. You can mess up. Hey, the Vikings messed up. 1st round draft choice, went for it, pick number 12, Christian Ponder, right?
Oh.
And the only good thing about Christian Ponder was how his wife. And that was it, you know. And Vikings fans are very, very much scarred mentally, traumatized because of the Christian Ponder pick, right? The Vikings did draft a 1st rounder after that in Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy was on his way to be very, very good. And then suddenly, the freakiest of freaky accidents happen, and his knee gets dislocated, and he almost loses his leg. right? He was never the same after that. And and before that, the only other number one that did great was Dante Culpepper.
Mhm.
And he was doing great in the year 4 or 5, whatever it was. And then bang, he just shreds his knee. Right. So Vikings fans are very leery. Oh, we can't draft a quarterback, number one. It never works. No, we got to do it. We've got to try to give us our best chance.
Yeah.
No, we need to sign Kirk Cousins back. Okay.
Who are you hoping your team drafts there as far as a quarterback in the first round there, Dave?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Okay. Because I think May and Williams are going to be long gone. I'm hoping we get in the position to get Jaden Daniels.
Okay. You're at pick 10 or 11?
11.
11. Okay.
We're two behind you. What we're going to have to hope for is to trade up into 3, 4, or 5 spot. Most likely.
Wouldn't with like people.
He's going to go that high?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
He might.
Anthony Richardson, that's if I'm saying his name right, for the Colts.
Yeah, for the Colts.
I think Jaden Daniels a tick better than him. And he went top 5?
Yeah.
And Anthony Richardson was the player that the Vikings tried to trade the farm for.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the farm, but all the cows and the chickens and everything else for last year. So if they went for Anthony Richardson last year, Jaden Daniels, I think, is who they're targeting this year.
But Richardson's workouts were crazy, wasn't he? Isn't he like 6'4"?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
4.5, 4.4 40, threw the ball 70 yards in the air. Yeah.
Daniels is like a little guy, isn't he?
No, he's
6'3".
Or is he tall? I don't know.
I'd have to look. He's
Maybe
over
he's
6
not.
feet. He's not a diminutive quarterback.
Right.
And I don't want a quarterback under 6'1", and I prefer the taller ones because they literally tend to do better.
I don't want a Bryce. Don't want a Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the NFL.
Oh yeah, Daniels is tall. Yeah, he's 6'4".
Yeah, he's
skinny.
Yeah,
that's what I worry about.
That's more what I was saying.
Yeah. I think he's only like 220, but he can put on pounds. That's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. He's not going to have to or shouldn't have to be put in a position to run like he did at LSU. It's a different ball game in NFL. There's certain people, you have your Lamar Jacksons, but other than that, no, you're going to get down. You're not going to have a lot of design runs for Daniels like you did at LSU.
Right. And plus, there's no need. We've got enough offensive weapons, as you all know, that can catch the football.
Yes.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we know.
That familiar color he'll be throwing too.
Now, when it comes to pay and what Caleb Williams is going to do in Chicago, that's going to be an interesting question. How that offense is going to look. Wait.
Hold on. let me. I have a question about that. Now, is he willing to go to Chicago? Because he said some stuff.
Well, he didn't say it. Some people around him said it.
Okay, so that's been cleared up. He's willing to play for Chicago.
He never said that either, but he did put his name into the draft. He knows who has the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and the whole he wants 10%. He knows that's not going to happen. All that sort of stuff.
I mean, hey, ask for 10%. See what you get. He wanted 10% of a franchise, whoever drafts.
That's great. Like, is he
not only is that illegal?
You got to earn that. You don't just
10% is a lot of it.
I don't think he said that either. I think that was his dad that said that.
Maybe so,
we
but
don't listen to the parents, man.
It's I don't even think it's legal in the NFL.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
that sounds.
They have to work around it like Kraft did with Brady.
Yeah.
I don't think that was Kraft and Brady. I think it was Brady and what's the guy down there that owns the Dolphins? I forget his name right now. That's what
you're talking about.
Well, yeah, but with Kraft, it was bringing in all the Brady food and the sales stuff and all that came to the stadium, and was sold. That was that sort of wink, nod.
Yeah. You're right. Okay. Brady starts a brand, and then all of a sudden, all his brand stuff is in New England. All in the training facilities. Like, okay, all right, you getting paid twice, Brady? Okay, all right. A multi-millionaire.
Hey, if you aren't cheating, you ain't trying, as they say in NASCAR. And as long as it's not against the rules, by all means, I want players to maximize their opportunity to get paid. They should. I mean, they're, it's millionaires playing for billionaires, and why not? And especially when you get to the lower level players, if they can get, a little bit of crumbs, by all means, because they're putting in just as much work as the superstars. But if these guys can get paid and set themselves up for life, all for it. Go for it. We all know that football is hard on the body. I can tell you from experience, and waking up every day and can only lift a shoulder only up so far. It's hey, go for it.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Shout out to the new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Dave, where can everybody find you and your Vikings, all the news and notes and everything else coming out of the Vikings?
Hey, you can go to VikingsFirstandSkull.com, which drives you to Fans First Sports Network, Vikings side, Minnesota Vikings, where we have all our written pieces. You can find us on your favorite aggregator for podcasts. And we have some podcast-only stuff that you can only find via podcast. Writing's different. Some of the writings talks about the shows, other writings totally different. And then on the video side, you can find us at Vikings First and Skull on YouTube. And we have a show tonight, like I said before. We are skull searching. We're doing a player profile. Say that 3 times fast. On J.J. McCarthy, who we talked about tonight, Michigan standout, national champion J.J. McCarthy. And we're going to talk about how he might play into the Minnesota Vikings. Consensus has it he'll be a second-round pick. So if we really screw up the first round, we might be getting him in the second. We'll find out. But we're all over there. Just write Vikings First and Skull, and you can find us. And we love talking to the fans.
Yeah, talking to the fans is probably one of the best things about this job. They tend to be a very, very, in fact, more than very, extremely passionate in my comment section, especially when I end up getting it wrong. Shout out to Terrence Stevens. Our Detroit Lions duo. Where can everybody hear you guys?
Well, you can check us out at Motor City Metrics. That's the YouTube. You can also check us out on Bleachers to Speakers. That's our new YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. And all podcast streaming platforms, just type in Bleachers to Speakers, FFSN. Foster, did I miss anything?
No, I think you got it.
Hey, but you cover more than just the Lions.
Oh yeah. See, Foster, you supposed to. That's when Foster's supposed to.
I didn't know if we were promoting the
other team. Are you ashamed?
Other team?
Are you ashamed, Foster?
We won last night. We got a show tonight too. If you want to check it out, yeah.
You guys were favored to win last night. You actually covered.
Weird.
That is post-game podcast where we cover the Detroit Pistons, and that can be found on Motor City Metrics and all streaming podcast platforms. That's post-game podcast, FFSN, and we have a show that we'll be doing shortly.
Awesome. And if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, you see the banner at the bottom. Subscribe to the Bear Claw everywhere you get your podcasts. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Pandora, Amazon Music, anywhere that plays the audio. Ask Alexa, ask Siri, play the Bear Claw podcast. They'll take care of you. If you want to check us out visually, we're at the same places. We're on X, YouTube, TikTok, We got all the videos, all our clips, all our memes, fan engagement stuff will be right there for you. And listen, the off season for the Bears is typically more entertaining than the season is. It's been that way for about 25 years. Don't think because we're not playing any games, there's nothing to talk about. There's always something to talk about. The Bears are always doing something. Maybe not for the best, but they're doing something, and we'll be here to give you that breakdown. Fellas, this has been a great show. If you got anything else, let's put it out there.
As always, Skull Vikings.
Toilet flush.
Listen, it was a little meek, but we're gonna restore the roar this Sunday. We just so you know, and for everybody in Chicago and any Bear Nation worldwide, bear down.